Welcome back to Homesteading with the Zimmermans, where we work hard and play hard on our little corner of land in Iowa. My husband and I were born and raised Old Order Mennonite, or horse and buggy Mennonite, as some refer to them as. And although we are no longer part of that culture or community, we are intentional about passing on the old-fashioned skills of our childhood to the next generation. Guys, welcome back to Homesteading with the Zimmermans. My name is Ruth Ann Zimmerman, and today's video is going to be all about fermenting. Now, I feel like the marketing industry surrounding probiotic supplements has done a great job at educating the general public on the need for good bacteria in your diet. The only problem with that is they have most of the information that we're getting then follows up with buy our supplement, because this is the only probiotic you'll ever need. And this is not wine, by the way. This is a fermented drink called beet kvass, and it's made out of red beets and salt and water. Which brings me to my next point. Whenever I can simplify the ingredients, I want to take that route. So yes, fast, quick, and easy is to buy your supplements, but it's kind of like that saying, you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but you teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. So that's kind of what learning to ferment is like. If you teach people all about the probiotic and how to get that good bacteria into your diet through a probiotic supplement, you have a solution for them as long as they have the means to purchase your product. But if you teach them how to ferment, if you teach them the basics of fermenting foods, you're going to give them the tools that they need to add fermented foods to their diet for a lifetime. So, my journey to fermenting has been steady by jerks, you could say, because although I've fermented dairy for quite a number of years, probably 8-9 years, and I've been fermenting beet kvass for at least 8 years, maybe just as long as I've been fermenting dairy. My fermenting journey has not gone beyond that, and I too have purchased expensive probiotics and cheap probiotics and added those to our diet. And to be honest, I'm probably going to always keep them in my cupboard, because it's really nice to have them, like say right after the stomach bug hits, or if you just need more good bacteria in your stomach than you can actually consume. So I don't have anything against buying your probiotics or, supporting a friend that does sell, multi-level marketing probiotics. I have nothing against that. I'm just trying to simplify our diet, and that means looking at all the supplements we are taking and asking, can I make this at home for less money and with less processing? So let's jump into the very first thing I'm going to show you is this drink, which is beet kvass. So the first thing we're going to do is harvest some fresh beets, And this little patch right here is all that the rabbits left me of my spring planting. And I thought I was recording here, but apparently my mic was not connected properly and I wasn't recording. So I'm not sure what I was telling you here, but I was probably telling you about how the rabbits destroyed most of my crop, and this is all that was left to me. So as you can tell, it's not enough to make it worth canning, but we can ferment them. So while I'm out here, I'm going to show you, I did plant some more red beets for fall. And like usual with my fall plantings, they come up, they germinate more poorly than they do in the spring. I think mostly just because it's drier and the weather is hotter and there's more weed pressure, but we should have some nice red beets for fall. And here I wanted to show you what grass clipping does for my garden. This area right here doesn't have grass clippings, and you can tell how much the purslane is just wanting to take over the garden, which is typical for July and August. And then over here where we've been piling grass clippings all summer from the yard, it's basically weed free and maintenance free, other than of course we have had to mow and collect the grass clippings. So now that we have collected our red beets, we're going to spray most of the mud off, and then we are going to take the tops off and scrub them and dice them. So I've got my 2-quart jar, about half full of diced red beets. And now I've got some warm water or room temperature water. And I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of Redmond salt. And I'll link this Redmond's mineral salt. The only kind of salt that you don't wanna use is iodized salt. And you don't want chlorinated water. I use our well water, which is tap water. So you're just gonna stir this until it's dissolved. And then you're gonna add it to your red beets. And then just make sure that you fill it to about 1 inch of headspace. So then when you've got your jar filled with your salt water, now you're ready to put the lid on. And I'm gonna link these lids. These lids are made in a way that you can turn it to the date. You can turn it to today's date, so that you know when you started fermenting. I don't worry too much about this with beet kvass because it's not a long ferment, and I'm usually keeping my eye on it anyway. And then I'm going to use a ring, and there we go. It's ready to sit on my counter. If you don't have these fancy lids, don't worry. I made beet kvass for probably 4 or 5 summers now and never used these. I just use a plastic lid and turn it on loosely. You don't have to burp this or anything. In my way of thinking, there's no reason to invest in fancy fermenting lids unless you know it's something you're going to use over and over and over again. So just use a plastic plastic lid and turn it on loosely, and so that there can be a bit of airflow. This one has a vent, like it vents. So, but I still don't turn this on very tight. So there you go. Isn't it pretty? Now we're gonna let this sit on the counter, and I will be checking on it and showing you what the progress looks like. So this is after 24 hours of setting on the counter, and our house is very warm because we rarely, if ever, turn on our air conditioner. And you can see these little bubbles that are starting to float to the top when you move it a little bit. And that just tells you that your beets are fermenting, and they're infusing the water, the salt water that you added, with wonderful health benefits and probiotics and good bacteria. So I usually, about once a day, just give it a little twirl like this to keep it active. But if you forget about it, it's really not a big deal. You can shake it up, you can, do what you need to, or you can just leave it. It just helps make me feel like I'm really doing something if I twirl it about or shake it a little bit once a day. So this is day 3, and you can see there's a lot more foam and bubbles that have gathered at the top, and this is normal. And I'm working on a fermented salsa recipe to share with you another week. Good morning. It has been a good 4, maybe 5 days since I started this. And normally my goal is to leave it 2 to 3 days, but because the weekend happened and we were gone most of the weekend, this is a little more fermented than what I normally make. And as you start fermenting, you'll find your own comfort zone, because you'll try things at a different time. And it'll just be a little more sour now than it would have been at 2 days. So if you're just starting out, you can start with 2 days to get your palate accustomed to it. So there's this scum that develops on top, totally normal. I'm gonna have to go get myself something to dish it into. But see how pretty this is. So pretty. So I'm just gonna dish this scum off the top. Oh, I can smell it already. Okay, now that I've dished the scum off the top, and this will go to the chickens, I am going to strain it into a clean jar. And you can strain it into a quart jar, but I have this 1 quart pitcher that I picked up at a yard sale, and I'm always looking for an excuse to use it because it's so pretty. It has etched measurements, like it's etched glass, and I don't know if it's hand blown, but I really like it. So I'm just going to strain this all into my pretty glass jar, my pretty glass pitcher. And it looks like I'm gonna have more than a quart. And I'm using my 4 jars strainer, 4 jars funnel with a strainer that fits right on top. Now, here's what you're going to do next. And set that aside. And you can use these again back into the same jar. I usually use mine twice, and I mixed up a fresh batch of salt water. So 2 teaspoons of salt for a 2-quart jar. If you're just making 1 quart, you just need 1 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to pour some of this back in here to get the rest of that salt. Rinse that salt out of there. And I'm going to add a little more to this. And this time around, I'm also going to show you how to do it. Like, you don't even have to have this fancy lid. So see, now I'm remembering exactly how many days it was, because I turned this to 25 and today's the 29th. So 4 days is how long I fermented these. And every day I just gave it a little twirl, kind of to shake things up. Now, to keep from promoting consumerism and saying, here, buy these fancy lids, use my link, because I don't like to do that more than I absolutely have to. You can take your beets and salt water in a jar and just loosely turn on the lid. You just want the oxygen to be able to flow. So just set the lid on like that. But remember, if you're going to do this, remember to turn your lid tight before you do that. So just lay your lid, cover it loosely. And now these will ferment. I'll probably let them 4 days just because I don't mind if it gets sour. Now, I am to the point where I can drink this beet kvass over ice. My body starts to crave it. And what should it taste like when it's done? It should taste like a pickled beet without the sugar. It has a little bit of carbonation, just a tiny bit of carbonation, but it tastes just like pickled beets without the sugar. Anyway, my grandma used to call this her blood tonic. And when I was a little girl, I thought it was because it was the color of blood. But I now know that it was because of health reasons that she called it her blood tonic. Now, if you want to do this for health reasons, but you can't get past the taste, I'm going to show you how I got started. So this is how I trained my body to like beet kvass. So I take a little bit of beet kvass, carbonated water, any kind of unsweetened, unflavored carbonated water, or you can use flavored carbonated water too. And then a little bit of stevia. Now, let me try it, see if it's sweet enough. It would be sweet enough for me, but our plan here is to go give it to the little boys. And here's the thing. I've been making beet kvass since they were babies. And when they were little, they used to steal my beet kvass all the time because I made it like this. And then I slowly trained myself to just drink it plain. And so then, of course, they stopped stealing it from me. I actually think that's pretty good. I think they're going to like it. So we're going to go give them this beet kvass and see what they think. So they are playing that they're Olympic swimmers. So we're going to call them and I'm going to tell them that I have a special tonic for helping their muscles. Hey, boys! Boys! Come here, I've got something for you. So this is a special drink that's going to help your Olympic-sized swimming muscles, okay? Try it.
It's better than the other time.
It's better than the last time I made it for you? Do you think you can finish it?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah. What'd you put in it?
I put this bubbly in it.
Oh, bubbly.
And a little bit of stevia drops. That's what I put in it. Is it good?
Yeah, I love bubbly.
Yeah. Mine's just plain though.
Which one do you think is better?
You like that?
This one's
Do you want some of the Harrison's? Can you finish all of yours, Harrison?
yeah.
You can? Okay. Ferment it. The boys liked it. You want some, Maxwell?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It helps your muscles. Only for Olympics.
Do you want to try some?
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
I think I tried this. I thought it was grape juice.
Oh, and then you were disappointed. Here, let me make some for you.
Oh yeah, it is.
It is good.
It is actually good.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. So now that this is all done and I've strained the beets out, I'm going to turn the lid tight and I'm going to keep this in the refrigerator, and that will stop the fermenting process, and this will keep in the refrigerator for, I would say, up to 3 months. I've kept some for 4 months, but I'll go through it fairly fast. This little bit that's left over here, I'm just going to set in the refrigerator like this. I'm not going to cover it because I'll be drinking this throughout the day and probably finish it by tomorrow. So there is beet kvass. Like I said, I am fairly new to fermenting, even though I've fermented dairy and I've done beet kvass and I've done sauerkraut for a number of years. This year, one of my goals was to ferment more things. Friends, I am back this morning with another fermenting project, and since I've done my first ferments, since I've filmed my first ferments earlier in the week and shared a little bit here and there on Instagram, like usual, my followers have inspired me. So what we're going to do is a fermenting challenge, because I'm fairly new to fermenting as well, and so we can all learn together. And for those of you that have been fermenting for years and years, I hope that we all hear from you with your tips and critiques. And for the rest of us that are learning to ferment, I will show every week through the month of August what I've fermented that week. And it won't be like my entire video will be about fermenting. For those of you that are not interested in it, I'll just show a little bit in each week's video what I fermented and maybe how the family liked it. But the hashtag that we're going to use is going to be meant to ferment, because our bodies really were meant to have fermented foods in their daily diet. And like I said earlier, most of America is now waking up and knowing that, and their fast, quick, and easy way to that knowledge is to pop probiotic pills, which, like I said earlier, I have nothing against. But I would like to challenge myself and you to learn to ferment something. And how I see this working is, let's say I really did plant enough cucumber plants for me with the plan of canning some pickles, right? But something's going on with my cucumber plants. They either have a bug or a blight or something, and they keep wilting. So I'm not getting a whole lot of cucumbers. I'm not getting as many as I expected. But I'm getting enough to ferment a couple quarts. And I'm not worried about the loss of my cucumber crop because pickles are not something that is our sustenance diet. It's just kind of an extra. We like to have something sour as a side dish. So this is perfect. We'll ferment them, and in the past, I know myself well enough that I have to scale up slowly. So it might go 5 years until my family is all embracing my fermenting efforts. But for now, I'm going to do it myself, and I'm going to eat them. I'm fairly certain Elvin will like it because he also knows the benefits of adding fermented foods to his diet. So I'm pretty sure he will embrace my efforts, and then hopefully that will influence the rest of the family to like it as well. But this brings me to a point. Maturity, a mature palate and mind will be able to eat something that they know is good for them, even if it doesn't taste like their favorite food. And here again, I'm going to repeat this. You cannot only eat your favorite foods and expect to have a well-rounded diet. I tell my children this all the time. You cannot only eat your favorite foods. You have to eat some things for the sake of nutrition and not just for pleasing your taste buds. Now, I cook in a way that is pleasing to them. My goal is to cook for them in a way that it pleases their palate, their taste buds, and is nutritional for them. But when they get older and they are able to go and buy their own food, and they have their own money because they're working, that's when the rubber really hits the road of you cannot live on just your favorite foods. You have to eat in a way that nourishes your body. To those of you that have never been told that, if you add just a tiny bit of ferments to your diet every day, even if it doesn't taste like your favorite food, right? If you add a couple tablespoons of fermented food to your diet every day, I promise you that within probably, for me, it only takes a week, but I'm going to say give it a month. Give it a month of a little bit of ferments to your diet every day, and you're going to start craving them, because that's how the connection between the gut and the palate and the mind works. So when I say you cannot only eat your favorite foods, it doesn't mean that those foods that you don't really like are forever not going to be your favorite. You're going to learn to like them. So today I am going to ferment some pickles, and the first thing I'm going to do is, I only have enough cucumbers for about a quart of ferments, so that's okay. I need to make my brine, and for my brine I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of salt to 1 quart of water. Now this is going to, I of course am using the Redmond salt, and I'm going to link this in the description for you. You want to use a salt that's pure like Redmond salt, Redmond's real salt. So 3 tablespoons of brine to 1 quart of water. And I'm of course not going to need all of this brine because I only have, 1 quart. I'm only going to fill 1 quart, and because, oh, that darn Iowa wind, it won't quit. Anytime you make brine and you have some left, you can just store it in your refrigerator until the next time you're ready to ferment something. So the first thing I'm going to do is slice my cucumbers, and I really like for my cucumbers to be a little smaller than this when I pickle them, because I don't like when the center looks like this. But it's okay, they'll taste the same. The texture integrity just won't be quite how I like it, because that middle part gets soft. So I've already washed the cucumbers, so make sure that you wash them well. If I was doing a large amount of this, I would use my shredder, but because I'm only doing a small amount, I'm going to hand slice them, and that way I'm going to get them all into similar sizes. Okay, so I'm going to slice this one too, and then, so I've changed my mind about what size I'm going to use, because after seeing how far 2 cucumbers filled a 1-quart jar, I decided to switch to a 2-quart jar. And I'm just going to keep stirring this to dissolve that salt and make my brine. So I'm going to slice my onion. I'm using a medium size onion, and I'm just going to coarse slice that. And then I'm going to do the same with my garlic. We're going to layer the cucumbers, the onions, and the garlic into this jar. So I'm going to run real quick and see if I can find one more cucumber on my poor cucumber plants, because that would fill the jar to the top. If I can't find one, it's okay. It'll work the way it is. Here's a little one. I guess I could use that one. You can see how the plants are wilty down there. Oh, look, I found one! Ha ha! It's hiding over here by my Thumbergia. Perfect. Let's just make sure. Oh, here's a deformed one that's hiding. Make sure there's no others here that need to be picked. So into this jar, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of pickling spices. You can add just mustard seed if you like, but I know that our family loves pickling spices in their pickles, so that's what I'm adding. And then I'm also adding a head of dried dill seed, and it just rained overnight, so this one doesn't look completely dry, but I'm going to stick it in there anyway. I'm actually going to cut that stem off and stick it down in there. And now I'm ready to add my salt brine. So salt keeps the bad bacteria from growing. Our ancestors knew this, and that is why fermentation was a large part of their diet and their preserving habits, because before there was canning, there was fermentation, and they were probably healthier for it. In today's world, everybody is so hyper obsessed with bacteria that something like fermentation can cause people anxiety. Simple things like canning can cause people anxiety, because the modern world has influence them so greatly into believing that all bacteria is bad. So even good bacteria has been villainized under the antibacterial movement, where people don't have a good understanding anymore that good bacteria is actually very, very healthy. And even when you come into contact with bad bacteria, the more often you come in contact with that bad bacteria, the stronger your immune system is going to be. Now, does that mean that I intentionally expose my family to bad bacteria? No. But I have a very healthy respect for bacteria, but at the same time, I know that for my babies and toddlers to go in the barn and go in the garden and run around barefoot, it doesn't hurt them. It just makes their immune system stronger. Because here's the thing, your immune system works best when it has a lot of exposure to all different kinds of bacteria. That creates a healthy healthy immune system. Bacteria is good for the body. And it's chemicals, it's toxic chemicals that bring your body down. It's toxic chemicals that you cannot build immunity to. But bacteria, you can. So, but salt hinders the growth of bad bacteria. So, did we sanitize everything? Guys, if you've been around a while and watched me can, you know that I'm not a bacteria freak. I know that salt will keep the bad bacteria from growing in here. I washed the cucumbers. I washed my cutting board. I rinsed my jar with very hot water. So just basic common sense. And guys, here's the other thing. When something is gone bad because of bacteria, you will know it. You will know because it will taste terrible. Ferments don't taste terrible. They taste like, here's what they're supposed to taste like. They taste like your common pickled veggies, like pickles or pickled red beets. They taste just like that without the sugar. So they're sour. Sour and a bit salty. Okay, so maybe just like me, sour and a bit salty. Now we're going to add our salt brine. And we're going to hope that I have enough. Oh, I didn't quite have enough, but there's a little bit of salt down there, so I'm just going to add a little more water to this to bring this to the top. And then we're going to talk about how to keep your cucumbers under the brine. Okay, so I added a little bit more water to this. See, this is not a precise recipe. This is kind of a learn as we go type of video. Okay, that's enough water. That's because I went and got that other cucumber. Now we're going to talk about how to keep all the veggies under the brine. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways. The first way is grape leaves. Hang on. So, like I said before, you can buy the things that I have and I'll link them, but you don't have to. So this is a glass weight that will keep everything submerged, just like this. It'll push them down, and let me see if you can see. So this glass weight will push them down and keep them under the liquid, which is what we want. The other thing that you can do, and I did this last year when I was learning, is you can just simply take a Ziploc bag and put it in here and then fill it with water. And that will cause it to seal it'll seal it all in, and it'll still let oxygen escape. So that's another method that you can use. But here's what I'm going to do. I am going to use these grape leaves from our grape plants. So grapes have something, grape leaves have something in them called tannin, and the tannin in grape leaves inhibits the development of the enzyme in the cucumbers that will start breaking the cucumbers down and make them soft. Sometimes at grocery stores this time of year you can buy grape leaves, but if you don't worry about it. If you don't have grape leaves, don't worry about it. Your ferments will still turn out okay. So I'm going to tuck these grape leaves in the top here. And I did wash these grape leaves too. And then actually, I'm going to take the stem off because that's going to make it fit better. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to tuck it in this way. And now this would be okay just like this, and then you can cover it loosely with a lid so that oxygen can still escape. You don't have to have this fancy lid. You can just cover it loosely, cover your ferment loosely, and write it on your calendar what day you started it. I wonder. Yeah, I'm still going to put my glass weight in there. So after you have your grape leaves on, you can still put your follower on to kind of push it down. And then loosely cover it. Now, we're going to let this set. And when I use these lids, I can turn it tight because these lids allow oxygen to escape because they're like that. Now, we're going to let this set for 4 to 7 days. So we're going to start tasting them at day 4. And if you're new to fermenting, you probably want to start fermenting your things for the least amount of days that your recipe says. So if it says 4 to 7 days, you'll want to taste it at day 4. And if you kind of like them, if you're new to this, I'm not going to say if you love them and they taste good, because if you're new to this, it's going to take you a little bit. If they're palatable to you at day 4, I would put them in the refrigerator at day 4, because in the refrigerator, you'll slow down and almost stop the fermenting process. They'll still ferment very slowly in your refrigerator, but they'll still keep for a couple months. So if they're palatable to you on day 4, then put them in the refrigerator. They'll keep getting more sour as time goes on the counter. So anywhere from day 4 to 7, you'll taste them. And when they are most palatable to you is when you're going to put them in the refrigerator. Now, if you're just making a quart of these, then you'll probably make another quart in a couple weeks, and then you'll know what adjustments you want to make. So that brings us to the end of the fermentation part of the video. I'm going to show you a couple clips of other things that have been going on around the farm. But thank you for being here this week. Please, when you ferment, please hashtag meant to ferment. That's going to be our hashtag, and then we can all watch each other's videos. And if you have a lot of fermentation experience, I expect to see you in the comments encouraging all of us with your tips and your hacks and different tweaks. I'm going to link the cookbook, the fermentation book that I go to for my brine recipes and just for ideas of different vegetables to put together. So let me know what you would like to see me ferment next week.